Welcome to another episode of I Am Maria podcast, a space where we explore the impact stories that inspire us who we are today, showing how our personal decisions and tools shape our lives. Welcome back to another episode. And today I am joined by someone whose story really deeply resonated with me, Andrew. His path Andrew Lanzziano's path has taken him from the structural world of finance to a life built around purpose, presence, and higher purpose. So, in this conversation, we are going to talk about those decisions that shape Andrew's journey, his personal tools that has helped him to show up with intention, and what really means to trust life and live in the now. Thank you, Andrew, for being here.
Awesome. No, thank you. Thank you for a wonderful introduction. Yeah, excited to talk with you and go into this journey and wonderful conversation.
Let's go. And as we know, the first conversation is so we get to know the speaker and is who are you? And I want to ask you, who is Andrew Lanzziano?
Yeah, I think great question. I'd say Andrew Lanziano, first and foremost, is uh a grounded, I would say in his spirituality, first and foremost in everything that he does. I would say second, um, Andrew Lanziano is a husband. He's a son, a brother, and an uncle at the moment. And I think most exciting, he is a dad to be in the month of December for a beautiful girl on the way with my wife. So,
What,
in
what?
yeah, yes, yes, thank you, thank you. So that would be Andrew Lanziano right now and the roles that he plays in his life.
Andrew, I didn't know. Like
Yes,
tomorrow, I'll
yes.
be give you a huge
Yes, yes,
hug.
of course,
And
of course. Yes, starting to slowly tell people about halfway there. But yes, coming mid-December.
oh, that is so beautiful. Please
Yes.
extend my congratulations to your beautiful wife.
Yes, I will tell her thank you.
Well, that is Andrew. So let's start getting to know you a little bit more. And Andrew, life is about decisions. And I want to ask you about one, two, three important decisions that have led you to the life that you have today and the person you are today.
Yeah, for sure. I would say the first kind of decision I made, or first adult decision I made was when I decided to go to college out of state and actually leave 3 days after graduating high school. So, very close to my family. Never envisioned, that I would kind of be living on dorms or out of state for any matter. But what I realized upon moving a lot, whether it was Japan, Hawaii, California, I always appreciated learning about different cultures, meeting different people. I always had to be the new kid, right? I always had to adapt, make new friends, and just understand, what again that city, state, town culture was to give a little bit of myself, but also take a little of myself and who I was in every step of the journey. So when the decision came for me whether to stay in state or go out of state, I wanted to continue that trajectory and getting to continue finding myself and learning about even new cultures and cities and dynamics. And it would be the first time that I would be away from my family. And I decided to go to the state of Florida, city you and I know, Miami particularly. I went to college at Florida International University, but really wanted to have that chance to start to grow up a bit more, right? Do things, for myself, wake up on my own. I'm a true mama's boy, right? Just I'm very consentido, but wanted just wanted to take that next step in adulthood and start to grow up a bit more. And so I decided to live on campus for 4 years. But definitely had an impactful decision because I don't think my family nor I thought that in uh that I would still be moved around on the East Coast, and I haven't moved back as I think everyone originally thought 4 years after college, right? So I've been between different places here on the East Coast, but I think just the path, like, again, it taught me to start being, just learning myself a lot more, right? When you're in a house, when you have a parents, obviously there's a culture that they're setting, right? You take that with you, but when you're on your own, you start to learn about yourself more as a person, making decisions, see how you're thinking through things and approaching life. Even though you still have their love, their support, you could call them, their phone call where they're playing away, but just wanted to do that. And I loved Miami. I thought it tapped into a Latin side that was very near and dear to my heart. As you know, Miami's, I call it the Latin melting pot. There's, Venezuelans, Colombians, Cubans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans. Everyone's in Miami. Like Spanish is I feel like go-to language there, right? Wherever you are. So it just I think helped me tap into my roots a little bit more and be around that dynamic. So I enjoyed that. And then I also thought it would be a good segue because I did have some of my dad's family there, my mom's family that I didn't have a chance to grow up with. And so I thought it would allow me to better my relationships with them and spend quality time with them. But that was a huge decision for me. Again, being away from my immediate family, my dad, my mom, my sister, my friends that I grew up with in high school, and kind of doing that next chapter on my own was what I think, helped me start to form my, adulthood and how I would approach, I think, that kind of next chapter of my life.
That is beautiful. And I think about it, and I was 17 when I took that similar step, not because I wanted it, but yeah, you grow so much. It's kind of the first time you're like, okay, these are the things I like or dislike, and that I can continue to do or not, but also how your values stick to you, right? So
Mhm.
I think it was very brave from you to take that step. How old were you, Andrew, at that time?
I was 18, so just turned 18. Yeah, and 2 months later, yeah, so similar to you, 17. But you carry what your family and parents taught you. You stick with what, again, you take with you. Like I said, at that time, still playing that role or learning, son, brother at that moment, my spirituality, all that comes with you, right? It's just you continue to evolve, grow, all of those things, but you take the learnings, try to be, the best human you could be. Like I said, that my motto, kind of treat others as you want to be treated. And I think if you're kind and respectful and, open to adapting to any city's culture, people will always accept you, especially if you're, listening, being empathetic. And I think anyone can always kind of fit in or adapt to a culture if they really want to do it.
That's beautiful. And I have so many questions already because it seems like you're a very family guy. Now,
Yes.
Andrew, you told us about this important decision on moving away. Is there any other decision that you want to share before I ask you what is on your toolbox?
Yeah, I would say there's like probably one or two others. I would say my second decision is I think like chronologically in my life, obviously like that was the first big one, started to evolve, grow as a human. I would say the second one was, I heard great advice is like, when you're your 20s, you're supposed to like figure it out, right? You're allowed to experiment with things, experience with what you think you like, don't like, all types of like I think things in a career. At the moment when I graduated from undergrad, I was convinced that I was going um, to be like in investment banking or doing something with stock markets, venture capital. I love numbers. I was obsessed with like New York, all of those things. And I got as close to that as I could. I was in corporate finance. For a time, I was working at Bank of America and their headquarters in Charlotte. Realized it wasn't for me. I think there was so much that I got out of it, right? Like just understanding the business of numbers. I think it's definitely served me well in my career, just even if it's fundamentals on Excels or being comfortable having that first role out of college, be that. Um, and then as it was trial and error, right? Like I was like, hey, it's okay. I didn't like this. I tried it. I wanted to give myself a ample amount of time, like a good, 2 years. And then the second thing, I wanted to be a professional athlete growing up. I didn't make it. It's okay. Whether it was basketball, soccer, just didn't work out for me. But I love the game. I love the fan. I'm a fan of sports. I love to play it. I admire athletes, and I wanted to be as close to the game or any game as possible. So I had a chance to work in sports business. I had roles with the Miami Heat at a sales capacity, University of Miami Athletics Department. Um, and I loved it. It was fun. Like for me, being that close to the game or, being courtside or on a football field for University of Miami Athletics and the football team, all of that was amazing. It was fun, right? But I realized, I wanted something even, I wanted something more. And I was trying to figure out what is it that could combine all of my experiences in corporate finance, some things that I was doing in sales, um, that dynamic of sports culture. How can I kind of just combine all of these things and, potentially make that career pivot in a function, but be in that function for like a long time? Something I could see myself doing for like 10, 15, 20 years, whatever that is, right? And I knew generally it was business, but I was trying to get specific into like what in business could be that thing that brings it all together for me. Um, Talk to many different mentors, talk to many different, people in my life, family, friends, and realized that for me, what that was going to be marketing. So knowing that it was going to be that, knowing that clearly I didn't have experience in marketing at that time, I wanted to again make myself, a stronger candidate to do that, to find opportunities in marketing in the future. So I decided to uh, go back to school to get my MBA. As I researched different schools that would be a fit for me. One of the things, obviously, I kind of locked in and focused on was schools that were great at marketing, schools that can open doors, have amazing alumni networks, can teach me the fundamentals of marketing and brand management. So that led me to Indiana University. Had never again stepped foot in that state. Probably like a pattern of me again from my past, going to different places and just making the most of it. Loved Indiana, two of the best years of my life. So have some of the closest friends I've you know will ever have that I'm still talking to all the time and that are always supportive and encouraging of everything that I'm doing. And obviously I'm encouraging them and everything they're doing as well in their careers. But really helped take, I think, my career to the next level and switch me and get me into that gear of what it takes to be a marketer. And that's when that next chapter started for me. And from there, it's been uh, wonderful marketing roles ever since, and a path that I've enjoyed. I've enjoyed a lot in this kind of next chapter of my life.
Nice. I love that. I'm like, wow, Andrew. Wow, that is so incredible. How do you do it? I want to ask you, what do you have on your toolbox that
Yeah,
has been
yeah,
there for you and it's continued to be with you?
yeah. I think for sure. Obviously, whenever I make big decisions in my life or consider things, I think I'm naturally like an overthinker. I'll think of like so many different things, so many ideas come to my head, and I normally like to have like a sounding board, to pressure test things that I'm thinking about, to make sure kind of how you started the podcast, to make sure whatever I'm doing that it's me, because obviously like the people that I ask know me, so I want to make sure like, hey, does this feel like it's right, true to who Andrew's going to be, and being authentic to who I am. So I think again, my biggest toolbox before anything, like I said, is definitely my, again, spirituality. Like, that's kind of my piece. That's kind of where I first um go. I try to search deep within the soul for that foundation to be the guiding light and principle. And to make sure again it's fed, because the more I'm in tune with my soul, the easier my decisions, the more clear my decisions are. So it's really like that is number one priority. And then I think during those two decisions that if I have time, I'll let's talk about one more. But during those two decisions particularly, I would say my board, I call them always like my personal board of directors, or my tool, my second tool besides that soul and that interaction I have, and ensuring that I have like that stewardship prioritized in my soul. The second one would be again my family. So my parents and sister, that at that moment during those three times are my big three, right? Like I know that they're gonna keep me honest, they're gonna keep me humble, they're gonna make sure I'm grounded, they're gonna make sure I'm making the right decision. Um, or pressure test things, or ask the opposite direction to make sure like I'm confident in whatever decision I'm gonna do. Um,
Mhm.
and then third, I think tool again, spirituality, family. The third one for me, I've been very fortunate to have some amazing friendships in my life, and each of those have been in phases as well. I have my high school friends that I can go back to California once or twice a year and I don't miss a beat with them. I have my friends from Miami that one of them was the best man in my wedding. We don't miss a beat. And then these, so those two were my board, my sounding board when I was doing these two things. And then obviously when I got to Indiana, there was a new set of friends that kind of came into my life, that I was able to form great relationships with, that able to talk various things in life with them and kind of go through life with them. So um definitely again, soul family friends are the tools I will always lean on. And then I would just say fourth for me, um I think in general, I'm always just trying to grow. I'm always trying to stay curious. So all these books behind me, I'm always trying to like just read or listen. I'll read books. I'll listen to podcasts. I'll read newsletters. I'll listen to people. I'll learn from people. Like I always think that you can always be getting better at your craft. For me, whether that's my marketing craft, my leadership craft, my business craft, my life craft, whatever it is. I think my health and wellness craft. I think people can always, learn and grow and try to get that 1% better each day. So I think in general, those are like the big four, and I think the one just constant for me. I think when I'm doing all of those, if you saw, if we go through the boat, that first one is like that spiritual bucket, that family and friends is really that mental and emotional bucket for me, and the other bucket for me is like physical. Like uh I love to exercise. Like if I can work out in the morning, that's a win for me for the day. I'm much sharper, thinking clear, I'm more thoughtful. So for me, that morning workout is amazing if I'm able to get it in. But I definitely try to prioritize that 3 to 4 times a week. And if I'm able to do that, I'm in a much just sets the tone for everything that's about to happen during the day. So that's in general the tools. If I do it different and talk about one of my favorite tools, though, probably the third decision, if I can kind of do it like this. We'll start tool first and why that matters. But for me, my again after again the spirituality part, my favorite tool is my number one best friend, my wife. So my wife is that's my rock, that's my support, that's the person that just brings it all together for me. And that was again in the chronological order, that was the third the third decision, but arguably the most that will be the most important decision when all is said and done between the three. And I think all the experiences that I had in my life obviously uh led me to her, but hands down it's been the best decision I've ever made in my life. And that is the tool, my sounding board, whatever I have, whatever's going on in my life, again, spiritual, emotionally, mentally, whatever it is, she knows about it. I'm an open book. I share everything with her. And she's always there to, again, keep me grounded, keep me focused, encourage me, love on me, care for me. So that has been the best decision. And that's the tool that's part of family, because she's family obviously, is definitely my wife.
It is really beautiful how you speak about how important your life, your values, your family, because yeah, you speak about your mom and your wife and your friends, but and your board of directors, which I love that you put a name on it, Andrew. Um, I don't think everybody um share their thoughts, ideas, and I do. I love to get advice from people that I know will add a value or will criticize the idea, because sometimes we need that tweak, right? But we need to be cautious on who is going to enter in that circle. And I'm just thinking here, wow, how organized you must be, Andrew, in terms of, yeah, your life, but also your core values for everybody, but really to you. And I want to ask, and I know this must be like a tough question, or maybe not, but what is the bravest thing you have done for yourself?
Bravest thing. Ooh, good question.
And maybe as you think, I'll tell you why I'm thinking this. You have a spirituality or a higher, power as your main value, core value in a way, I feel like. And then you told me that you wanted it to be a sport guy, like one of the best, but really like a star. And I'm just thinking, wow, those standards for Andrew must be really high. But at the same time, I see how you live life, now with purpose. And I'm like, how can we combine these two? And has Andrew have that ever done something like for him? Because I'm sure you do many things for others.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think for me, honestly, like the old, I guess the older I get, it's more like for me, it's going my language of love, if is actually like quality time. So for me, I'm all about when people are like, "Oh, hey, what does Andrew want?" or "What does Andrew want for his birthday?" or "What does Andrew want?" Whatever it is. I'm always like, "Man, if I like, let's just have like a home cooked dinner and like play Uno." Like that to me
Mm,
is like the perfect, like I like you tell me, hey, what does Andrew well, like what does Andrew want on his birthday? Like, hey, if I could be with the family, have a nice home cooked meal, and play Uno, that's like the perfect night. Maybe maybe if there's something on, streaming device, like that to me is the perfect night. So I look at some of those like the moments with family now. I mean, I think I've always valued family, but like even more so as you get older, like, hey, those moments are now it's like with my nephews, now it's with my new niece, now it's gonna be with my new daughter. Like those moments to me are the best. I look forward to those. I look forward to going out to eat with my wife and going out to like try a new like dinner restaurant. Go like I'm simple, going to the movies with my wife. Like I think even though those to me that's selfishly still for me because my language of love is like quality time. And if I could do it with my wife, with my parents, with my sister, with my nephews, like that to me is like for me, like I'm feeding all of those things that I told you. I'm feeding even though I'm having fun with them and I'm gonna do my best to have a good time. I mean, I'm gonna make I'll make everyone laugh. I'll do whatever it is to make everyone have a good time. But I'm feeding my, that emotional tank. I'm feeding the mental tank. I'm in a better state. If I was ever in a bad mood and I'm around them, I'm not in a bad mood anymore. And so
mm.
I think for me, the things that like I'm doing for me is um just always being intentional. Like I'm very, my family would tell you, I think, um, time is like the one thing we sort of control, right? So I'm very like intentional about my time. So if I'm with my wife or with my family or with my friends, like I'm very present. I'm in the moment. I'm not, I try my best like not to be on my phone. Like if I'm with you and I'm gonna spend time or I haven't seen a friend in a long time, like I'm with you. I'm there. I want to hear about you, what you're doing, how's it going. I want to like really catch up so that quality time feels like it's longer than it is versus you could be around a person for like 3 hours, but if you're not
Mm.
locked in and not present, it's not going to feel like that. Where if you can just lock in for an hour and not have any devices around, like that quality time is going to be more rich. So
Well, it
again,
is a nice mix.
yeah,
You're feeding your priorities, your values, your language of love, but you're also giving so much to your family, your friends. I'm loving this episode, Andrew. It's so beautiful. Um, Andrew, it's so hard when you are in this moment and not to be thinking about the future, at least for me. But I see you really take presence in the moment, and I want to ask you how do you learn to trust the present moment without anxiety about the future and what's coming next?
yeah, it's a good question. I think it's something I've been, something I read a lot on. I think it's something I've like done my own due diligence and research and just always trying to I think when it comes back to it is like time, right? And again, there's only that, like that's the one thing that we can try to control or take ownership, right? And then so when I think about the future, and I think everyone does this, right? To an extent, but like obviously, like I feel like I did it a lot more when I was, younger too. I was always like the future, the future, the future, the future, the future. What's next? What's next? What's next? And like, I think when I did that again, I just felt like I was not in the moment. Like I was not living the day, like the actual day versus the future, which again, we don't know what the future holds. Like we don't know what can happen, like at any moment, right? So for me, that's like every day, like just constantly, if I'm on the phone, whatever it is, like my parents and I love them, whoever it is, like just making sure that they know that I appreciate them, that I have gratitude for them. And so I try to be like, again, very like locked in because I think it's okay to think about the future, but like I like to think about the future more in like goals or ambitions or whatever that is. Like, hey, I might back into it. Like, hey, um, I mean, perfect example right now. Like, right, I'm gonna have a baby in like 4 months, right? So now, like, that's gonna happen. Everyone says like there's no preparation. I believe it, but me being the overthinker that I am, I'll read right now about it. And that's not to say like, like that's coming, but like I try to be like present. So like I know that I want my wife, I need to like be of service to my wife as best as I possibly can. That's like my number one objective right now. And then along the way, I might read today about that. And nothing might happen from the books, but at least like today, I'm a little more informed. I might remember something
Yeah.
from the 4 books that I read. Like something's gonna come that subconsciously might be there for me when it happens. I mean, there's things come up when I found out my wife's pregnant that I'm like, oh, I remember that from that. Now that doesn't work for everyone. I'm just saying me naturally, like I've read, I like that, but I think it just allows me to stay present. I'm and I think like when you always think about the future and the future and the future, I think that naturally, at least for me when I was younger, like will give more will make anyone more anxious because you're
Hmm.
only like there. So then if you're there, you're not here, and like if
Hmm.
to me, if you're in the present and you've lived like your best day, it's not like almost like live your best, live today like it was your last day. Like you lived your best day and you maximized your day. You maximized as much as you could, or a little bit of your recipe, whatever, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. You were able to touch upon those 4 things, or 2 of those 4 things, or 3 of those 4 things, whatever it is. Um, if you're able to do that, like and lock in on the day, you're gonna feel like again, you're gonna start to it's gonna start to swing back to like, okay, hey, it's for me at least, it's better to live a maximized day and do everything you could today, and then that's only gonna help whatever you want to do in the future. So that's how I guess
I
my
Yeah,
approach.
I really like how you take the situation, the energy, and you act over that because like as you're saying, and for me, it's thinking about the future, but to have control over a situation,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
And I want to ask you, what's one thing you wish more people knew about letting go of that control? Because there are situations you cannot control. In fact, what you do is, what can I do about it? I'm gonna read the book.
Yeah, 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 exactly. I try to action. If I'm like, oh, I don't know anything about pregnancy, I'm trying to learn a little bit about it. So then I feel a little more comfortable. And I'm not saying I got everything right, but I know more than I did when I didn't read the book. And that's me,
Right.
or listen to the podcast, or listen to the newsletter, or talk. A lot of like I have a lot of friends that are dads. I talk to them. Hey, how was it when you were going through this, whatever it was? So I have like all of that gives me more, I guess, because I'm naturally curious. I know what's about to happen. It gives me just more knowledge. And
Mm-hmm. It
I
makes you
like
feel
to be
grounded
like
in a way.
acknowledge, yeah, I'm like, okay, got it, like da da da. And again, everyone's experience is different, completely understand, but I like hearing everyone's stories. I like hearing everyone's okay, do that, consider this. You don't have to like listen to everything, but it's good, especially people that you trust. So like I like trying to, if there's something that I'm nervous about and, like that might happen in the future, I try to action against that today.
Hmm.
I don't want the thoughts to swirl. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do the best I can today to try to control that, you know?
Which in a way goes back to your first, and we have talked about so much spirituality or a higher purpose, however, we want to call it. And I want to ask you, what role does living with spirituality or a higher purpose have in your daily life and work?
I mean, it's pretty much everything for me. Like I think like that's the stronger my spirituality is, the more I'm at peace. The more I'm
Does
at
it help you to align your body and your day-to-day life?
yeah, I think it just helps me. I think it's just a certain yeah, alignment's an interesting way. I think just like confidence, I guess, like that
Mm.
that I believe like, and I've seen in my own life as well, like if something um whatever happens, like, you know, so like we'll get through it, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like I've been through things in my life where like um that again, spirituality is like grounded me. And I think it allows me to just have like that peace again. That I can
Nice.
I can get through it as long as that the closer I am to that, the better it is, the more at peace I am.
And that ties to a question that was just coming to my mind, which is about when you're in discomfort, you're in these situations that you're not certain about what it's going to go or how it's going to go. That can bring, anxiety and many emotions. And I know you're like very grounded and you connect with higher purpose or yourself. And I want to ask you, how do you handle those discomfort or those bad scenarios when they come to your life?
Yeah, I think again, it's how I handle it is definitely like I said, the always again wanting to make sure there's no
Mhm.
buckets that and it's never perfect, right? But you never want any buckets to feel like low, right? I know it's hard, right? Like I said, the spiritual bucket, the emotional bucket, the mental bucket, the physical bucket. Um, Whenever you're going through like I don't want to say even going through stuff, but whenever there's a tough decision, obviously I'm going to make the best decision if all of those buckets are maximized, right? Like all of those buckets are like intact, right? So sometimes
Mhm.
if a big decision is going to come, I might not want to make the big decision yet because I don't know, I'm going to feel better mentally because like I only slept an hour the night before, or hey, it's a big decision, I need to kind of physically be at my best, I want to exercise before I make this decision, or walk outside or go on a nature walk, whatever it is, I need my mind to be at a better place. So I always again try to make sure like those buckets are kind of up to speed, and then I think again because I understand that, because I talked about my board of directors, all of those things, when a hard decision comes, as long as it's not for me, like I thought about it the most, I analyzed different decisions. I took the opposite approach just to think what would happen, whatever that is for a big decision. I feel like if all of those four things are doing good and I was thoughtful about it and I make the decision, and it was wrong, like it's okay because I gave my best effort. I'm
Mhm.
happy if I give my best effort. So if I give my best effort and it's wrong, I'm okay with that. Like I am very comfortable. I am very comfortable saying like I made a mistake. And that was like the wrong decision. But I will definitely be confident in that decision because I would have done the due diligence. I would have taken feedback well. I would have listened. I would have taken things into consideration. And I know deep down I want to try to act with like integrity and make the right decision. So if hard decision comes and I kind of need to assess it, do all those things, I know, I guess again, that framework I just spoke about, being thoughtful, doing the due diligence, analyzing different perspectives, making sure those kind of buckets are all, at a good place. If all of those things are good, I'm I'm confident in that approach. And if it's wrong, it's okay. And the good thing if it's wrong is I'm always open and willing to learn. So like what was wrong? Why was it wrong? Okay, it's because I thought about it this way. Let's take a different approach to the next one. So I'm always trying to optimize and grow from whatever's next. So like the next time I see something like that, I'm even more confident in my framework or decision making process. So I would say it's always good to like if so and anyone knows like the effort they put into something. If you put like unquestioned effort and you did your best and it's wrong, like it's okay. Like we're human. Things are supposed to be wrong. We're supposed to make mistakes. So
And
I'm happy making mistakes as long as my effort is there.
well, for me, it's just like, wow, I cannot believe it because when I make a mistake, it's like, how come, Maria? Like, yeah, we're gonna learn from that, but how come, you know? And I'm sure people listening to this podcast might think the same. I'm thinking right now, wow, Andrew, you're so positive. Like I thought I was positive. But hearing about what you're saying today, it's like, well, this is incredible. And I want to ask you about a moment where you felt lost, you know, and maybe you don't have to tell us why and that moment, you know, but you're telling us all the like the strategies and the buckets and how is that you help yourself to get better, but how do you really find your way back when you're struggling or you're feeling lost, frustrated, maybe?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I'm pretty like I said with my board. I'm pretty like open. I'm pretty like vulnerable. With like my families and friends. So I think I feel like when there's something that's like super frustrating or super like I can't figure it out or something that's like really stressing me. I always feel like for me, obviously, like I said, like people definitely help me. Like sometimes it's almost like just talking it out with them, and sometimes they don't even need to say anything. It's just like saying things out verbally
Mm.
can help like alleviate or bring like a calmness to it, right? I for me, that has helped me a lot, just being like vulnerable with my board. Knowing I have like people that I can trust to talk things with, I think is a big one, a big one for me. And then I think usually once I let it out, once I feel like I've covered every situation in my head, and thought about different things, I feel like once it's all has all been expressed, I'm kind of good. I might like continue to analyze it or overthink it and try to get it better for the next time. But once the chapter moves, like you adapt and you learn quick and on to the next decision
Challenge.
and I'm a person. I guess again I grew up playing sports, so like I want that again. Like if something made me uncomfortable or it was a tough situation or whatever it was, like I hope I get a chance to experience that again to show how I can handle it from what I learned.
Nice. Andrew, you're a leader. Um, how has your view on leadership has evolved over the years?
Yeah, honestly I really believe that leadership, like marketing, but even more so leadership is something that's always you always have to like learn from, grow, adapt. um, almost every day, right? Like, I want to say the as you progress in your career, it becomes even more imperative, um, to build teams, to build uh, cultures, to empower, to coach, to motivate. But you also have to be intentional about that and about prioritizing those things and finding balance within everything else that's going on with work, right? So for me, I think it's a ever evolving skill set. It's ever evolving thing to find your leadership style, your leadership voice. But I think three things that I'm always going to try to do is definitely empower people. Obviously, I want to inspire. I want people to feel motivated. Um, and then I think third, I just want to be a person that can, remove barriers for anyone on my team, right? So I'm always going to try to get better at each of those things along the way. Um, and I think along those three ways, if I'm able to, lead with integrity and be empathetic along the way, I think that's only going to help my leadership journey. But it's definitely um, something that could always be learned, practiced, evolved. Um, and it's different. It's different from like the marketing craft, right? I of course there's marketing leadership, but I think the leadership, especially when you're at a point where you're able to have like teams and direct reports and all of those things, um, it becomes something to, you know, uh, definitely prioritize and even, continue to learn and get better in that area.
Andrew, you look at the future, excited about what's coming, but you really live the present. And I'm wondering if looking back, will you change anything about your life?
Nope. I wouldn't change anything. I've always nothing. I'm honestly one of the I try to like I said I've always I've the motto I want to live life with like no regrets. Like I've always said that even when I was young I want to live with no regrets. So if I'm gonna live with no regrets, like I said, yes, my decision frameworks, might have changed throughout the years or my decision process or whatever it is, but um at that moment when I made whatever decision I've made in my life, early to now, um, again, I've always been an overthinker. So I'll contemplate all these things. So when I made the decision, by the time I made the decision, even if it was wrong, I would have thought of everything, right? So I might have made it wrong, but at least I thought of like all sides of it. So, um, and I think each of these experiences in my life, whatever it is, has only, allowed me to have again this other kind of tool set or ways of thinking that allows me to like learn, or I've seen that before, I've seen something like that before, or I have a friend that's been through something like that before. um so I've been very fortunate, but absolutely I made mistakes along the way, but it's if anything I've um learned from those mistakes to become a better version of myself. But regrets, no regrets.
Love it. What would you like people listening to take away from this episode, Andrew?
I mean, to tune in to listen to the I Am Maria podcast. I know that you started with the wonderful introduction to me. I have the, for the audience, for your audience, I had the privilege of, um, working with you as well, right? Staying close. And we've had a chance where our families have met as well. I think you're doing like wonderful things. I think it's a very inspiring podcast. I hope that these different stories that you're, and people that you're having, that people will always, only like hopefully learn, be inspired from you, the questions. You do amazing work on getting to know someone, the rigor you put behind it, dedication, the commitment you have to making sure that the people that you're interviewing feel at ease, but just feel ready to go. But I think for me, again, yeah, I think to leave people with like definitely tune in, not just to mine, to all. If you can't tune into mine, but all of I Am Maria's podcast, be a subscriber, all those things. But honestly, I would say like, for me, like always be curious, never stop learning. I think there's, again, you can learn spiritual, you can learn emotionally, you can learn physically, you can learn mentally. That doesn't stop. Every day counts, every day matters to kind of learn and grow in each of those pockets and buckets. And then when you, I think, again, for me, um, whatever those principles you have, like stay true to who you are. Um, and everything else, everything will come, like everything will come in time. And yeah, excited, and thank you for asking me to come on.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support and your beautiful words. I appreciate them a lot. And I'm sending you a big hug, which tomorrow I will give you a
Thank
big
you,
hug
thank
in
you.
the office. And you please extend that here to your wife. Andrew, thank you
Yes.
so much for this conversation. The way you speak about presence, for me, it's not a trend, but a choice, a practice, and really left me reflecting. Your grounded view of purpose and spirituality feels especially relevant in a world that moved too fast, and sometimes we forget about this. And for anyone listening, I hope you take a moment to pause after this episode. Reflect on one thing that stood out. Maybe it's a decision you have been waiting to make, or a tool that you didn't realize it was ready in your hands. Until the next time, thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting I Am Maria podcast.